Does it look hard? Does it sound smooth? Does it feel right? What awareness are you triggered to have, or that you prefer to have, and is it contextually effective? We experience and represent everything, both internally and externally, through our five senses, which are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. In NLP, we also refer to these as modalities. Each of the five also have sub-modalities. These are subsets of the modality to give more detail. For instance, for visual, you can have either bright or dim, black and white or color, blurred or focused, as just a few examples. And for kinesthetic, they could have hard or soft, rough or smooth, hot or cold, and so on. Now, also note there is a sixth sense. This is what makes human beings very much human beings, with our ability to derive complex meaning from the other five modalities. This modality is called either AD, audio-digital, or non-specified. As a concept, think logic. Things like experience, discover, understand, process, consider. And of course, concept in of itself is an audio-digital word. A high percentage of people can function in a fairly balanced way across most of these modalities, though they will tend to have one or maybe two that are their go-to natural and preferred representational system. We all know a person who is highly visual, for instance. They usually are very quick thinking, and they may well be very artistic, as well as someone who's incredibly kinesthetic, who can be very emotional, maybe loves touching things, and may well be a social worker or a carer. And of course, there's the more dissociated types of people who are driven very much by logic. They'll ask endless questions and might be, say, an accountant or in logistics. When you train your ear, oh, and by the way, I'll be teaching you several highly effective techniques to be able to do this quickly and effortlessly in future videos. So do like and subscribe to ensure you don't miss out. Yes, so once you've trained your ear unconsciously to hear what you really want to hear, it'll become quite easy to spot a preferred system a person chooses to predominantly use in their communication. We can also start to pick up on other signs that can help us give us a subliminal insight into who they are and what they are. For instance, a visual person may well stand or sit with their head up and their eyes alert. Their eyes will be looking up from left to right, visualizing as they look to understand. And to describe their own communication, the pictures of reality that they have in their own minds. They'll usually be neat and well-groomed, as appearance will be important to them. They will have a bit of a mercurial mind and will usually talk really quickly as they're keeping up with the rapidly streaming images that they have in their head. They memorize by seeing pictures and things. They may not follow verbal instructions particularly well, because the pictures that they've seen may not entirely match the words that have been said, and because their minds tend to wander if distracted by shiny objects. A visual person will use words like look, view, picture, see, show, clear, focus, and so on. An auditory person, their eyes will do quite a bit of moving from side to side in line with their ears, funnily enough. It's not uncommon for them to be heard talking to themselves and will be sensitive to and easily distracted by noises. They learn by listening and are great at taking in and understanding verbal instructions. They can usually accurately repeat those instructions back to you. They tend to like music and will enjoy more words and sentences that have an order and sequence to them. Their voice will also tend to have a bit of a sing-songy sort of cadence and a mellifluous rhythmic tone to it. The auditory person also likes clear instructions and prefers to be told how they're doing. The words that you'll typically hear them using are things like hear, listen, be heard, shut up, silence, are you deaf, I'm all ears, sounds good to me. A kinesthetic person will typically be slower and lower in most things. Their breathing, their eyes looking down, their thinking speed, and how they speak. They may well be a bit touchy-feely, maybe a prolific hugger. They also stand closer to people when interacting and can be a bit of a space invader. But remember, this is not just physical, but emotional, because kinesthetic people very much function on feelings. They will appreciate art and music through how it moves them. They will learn more easily by being taken physically through the steps and actually doing the thing themselves. The words they'll tend to use most are things like a feel for it, get in touch with, hold on to, throw it out there, it's hard, catch on, get a grip of. Then we have auditory digital people. They will spend a fair amount of time talking to themselves inside their own head. Now, you may or may not see their lips moving. These are the predictable what-ifers. What will happen if? Everything you say will have to make total sense to them straight out the gate, or they'll be at risk of what-ifing it to death with question after question. They will typically seem a bit detached and dissociated to most things, and they'll really want to analyze, sometimes to the most granular degree. Words that they will use and typically respond best to are things like experience, understand, communicate, process through, think, decide, perceive, consider, and so on. As for olfactory and gustatory, these don't get used so much in of themselves to create and maintain a problem or limitation from a coaching or therapeutic standpoint. As let's face it, it would be pretty difficult to navigate through all of the complex experiences that life has for you if you could only smell it or taste it. Unless, of course, you were a florist or a chef. Though they can sometimes randomly appear as a dominant awareness, and it certainly stands out if they do when you hear metaphoric phrases like, this really stinks, and it's left a bad taste in my mouth. As mentioned already, most people will have a pretty balanced ability when it comes to having a visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and audio-digital awareness across most contexts. What we are listening for is if their normal, balanced way of expressing themselves and their experiences shifts significantly or inappropriately in a given context. This is when, say, a normally very visual individual starts talking predominantly with a dominant kinesthetic awareness, or a normally very kinesthetic person who is clearly emotionally stimulated, yet is only expressing themselves in audio-digital terms. Our awareness of their awareness is incredibly important. That is, of course, if you want to truly understand what they are communicating. And as it is very much a two-way street, you'll want to be very effective in helping them to fully understand what you are communicating. It's also interesting and important to notice those people who very much use just one dominant representational system across many or all contexts. If you were, say, a high visual person and you were trying to communicate with someone who is incredibly kinesthetic, without one of you adapting, then the overall result of the communication would probably be very ineffective and frustrating for both of you. These people do exist, though rest assured they're not the norm. If you ever have to deal with one, you'd have to adapt your communication to fit with their preferred system, to have any chance of them understanding what you have to share, and for the communication to be in any way effective. Now, most things can easily be expressed in some way or another whilst maintaining the same high level of meaning using any of the 6 modalities we have language for. A simple example would be the sun beating down was oppressive, which is kinesthetic. The sun looked amazing glinting on the ocean, which is visual. The sun was so hot I could hear my skin sizzle, which is auditory. The sun was stinking hot, olfactory. The sun had a magical flavor, a taste of paradise, gustatory. The sun was a real treat and a magical experience, audio-digital. Now, I'm sure whichever one stimulates you the most will still convey the same generalized understanding of the experience, that it's a hot sunny day. But depending on which one resonates for you, could possibly change the meaning of how you are imagining experiencing that hot sunny day. In therapy and coaching, and also if you want to be an effective advanced linguistic influencer, then to truly get a feel of what is really going on, you'll want to pay very close attention to and listen for all that you can see that they are experiencing and the dominant awareness that they're allowing themselves to have. Now notice, I easily used all 4 key modalities in that statement to help appeal to a wider audience. So what detail is their awareness promoting? And what other aspects of the situation might they be missing? This will give you a better sensory-based understanding as to how they are choosing to internally experience their current perceived reality. Sometimes the dominant awareness they are choosing to have is not the most appropriate or effective modality in that given context. They might not be able to see what they need to see because of what they feel. They may not be able to notice what they really feel because they're too busy trying to make sense of it. In day-to-day communication, listening for and utilizing a person's preferred representational system helps you to build rapport, creates flow, and understanding. You want to be very much speaking their language. If they say they want to show you something, it'll be more effective to say, I'm looking forward to seeing it, rather than, that sounds great, I'm all ears. If they say, I want to tell you something, it will work best if you said, I'm ready to listen, rather than I'm open to your communication. In therapy and coaching, you'll want to gauge whether or not their awareness is being limited by a dominant modality. Is the modality they're choosing to use to process their awareness of the detail and meaning of the current situation truly a fit for the context? And is it effective in creating a rich, complete, rewarding experience full of possibility? Probably not. You want to first notice, then to begin working out what's missing, suppressed, or being avoided. What awareness would better serve you both in way of a flow of accurate and relevant information for this current situation? If a person is clearly emotional, yet their language is all audio-digital, then they are actively keeping themselves dissociated, which will probably block the very awareness that they need to be able to understand to create an effective solution and gain a resolution. If the awareness that they have is blocking the flow of information, or maybe badly skewing it, at some point as you reflect back to them their structured awareness, you might want to then ask them either what they see, what they feel, what they hear, or what they think about it. An example of this might be having seen it, and as you are indeed seeing what happened now, what do you think that means? Or, as you have explained in detail the difficulty that you're facing, how do you feel about it? Now notice we've used their structure and their awareness, but then asked them to switch modality. This will be effective in putting their attention on other aspects of the experience, thus opening up the understanding of the experience. Do be warned though, this should only be done if their flow of understanding of the experience is stuck and revolving around mainly just one modality. Also think first, do you have permission? And are you in an appropriately private place? If someone is purposely dissociating themselves from their feelings to perhaps in some way maintain control over themselves or the situation unconsciously and subliminally, then you influencing their attention into the feelings will probably open up the floodgates. You'll want to know that you have the right to do that and that you have the skills to continue to helpfully guide them through it. If not, then leave it well alone. In our next video, we'll be looking at the NLP presuppositions of adjective and adverb modifiers. These are the words that are used to ramp up the meaning of verbs and nouns when a person is emotionally stimulated in some way. So do like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing so much more with you as we learn, evolve, and create positive change together.